How's it going, everybody? My name is Chase Teep and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to give you guys frugal living habits. These are the habits that frugal people use on a daily basis to save themselves some money every single day. And the best part about this video is that anybody, including you, can start implementing these habits in your life today. They don't require any previous knowledge of frugal living. They don't require you to have a bunch of money saved up. You can start to do every single one of these habits today. And I hope that's as exciting for everyone out there as it is for me. And I don't want this to be a super long introduction. I've got 20 frugal living habits to go over today. So let's just get started real quickly with frugal living habit number 1. And the first habit of frugal people is this: they always budget their money. Budgeting is almost always one of the biggest and most important aspects of living frugally. And frugal people know this. They almost always know exactly how much money they're spending in a given week or month or year, and they know exactly where all of their money is going in that same time frame. And frugal people will stick to those budgets almost religiously. So if you're someone who's trying to live frugally, one of the first things that you should absolutely do is create your own budgets. The second habit of frugal people is they go grocery shopping as infrequently as they possibly can. I myself try to go grocery shopping once per month maximum, and ideally I would probably even stretch that out to once every 2 to 3 months. When you plan out your spending, you know exactly what you're going to need every single time you go to the grocery store. But with each of those trips, you're also running the risk of being tempted by some food or some item that you don't actually need. And so by minimizing the amount of times that you go to a grocery store at a given amount of time, you're also minimizing the chance that you're going to see something and spend money on something that you don't actually need. And at the same time, you're also going to find yourself stretching your food supply for longer and longer periods of time, which is also something that will save you money in the long term. Speaking of grocery shopping, the third habit of frugal people is they try to plan out their meals. They know exactly what they're going to be eating over the course of the next week, maybe even the next month, and they know exactly every time they go to the grocery store what they need to buy in order to make those meals. Some frugal people are like me, and they have the exact same meals for every breakfast, lunch, and dinner day after day. So every time they go to the grocery store, they know the exact items that they need to buy, and they know exactly how much. And in the long term, once again, this is just going to save them a lot of money. The fourth habit of frugal people is that they run their appliances as infrequently as they possibly can. And when I say appliances here, what I'm really meaning are dishwashers, laundry machines, washing machines, drying machines, things like that. Things that you don't really run all that often, but if you're able to stretch out the amount of time in between using them, you can save yourself some money. And this little frugal living hack is very similar to habit number 2, because every time that you're able to stretch out your dish supply or your clothing supply over a longer period of time, you're just going to save yourself some money, especially if you keep doing it consistently. And instead of maybe doing your laundry every 2 weeks, now you're doing it once a month. And that's just going to cut down on the amount of money that you're spending on utilities every single month. And along with that frugal living tip, you can actually save yourself even more money in the long term by following frugal living habit number 5. And this one's going to be run those exact same appliances in off-peak hours. A lot of people don't know this, but if you actually run your dishwasher or your laundry machine late at night or super early in the morning, depending on how you look at it, maybe 1 or 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., instead of running it at 7 o'clock at night, you're actually going to save yourself a little bit of money. Most people run these appliances, their dishwasher or their laundry machine, in the middle of the day or in the evenings or afternoons, but if you're able to run them in the middle of the night, that's called an off-peak hour, and you can save yourself a little bit of money every single time that you use one of those appliances. Moving swiftly on to frugal living habit number 6. Frugal people will always try to buy used products whenever they can. As most of you already know, buying used products is almost always cheaper than buying new products. So anytime they're able to implement this and not see a massive drop in quality, you're just saving yourself some money. And this is one of those habits that frugal people will just always try to look into doing. Whether they're trying to buy a car or they're trying to buy a new pair of headphones, they will always see if buying used is actually more worthwhile to them than buying something brand new. And frugal living habit number 7 is going to be this: frugal people will always try to buy things in bulk. Now, I've talked about buying in bulk like a million times on my channel. It's almost always in my frugal living tips videos, but it's really that important, because if you're able to buy almost all the things that you actually use on a daily basis in bulk, you're just saving yourself so much money. I always try to buy food in bulk. I try to buy drinks in bulk. I try to buy cars in bulk. Alright, I'm just kidding. I don't buy cars in bulk, but if I were going to buy multiple cars in my life, I would probably try to buy them in bulk, because that would save me some money on those cars. Alright, that's a bit of an extreme example, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. Buying in bulk is going to save you some money, and that's exactly why frugal people all over the world will always try to buy their items in bulk. And along with buying things in bulk, frugal people will also try to use and squeeze every drop of value that they can get out of those items while they're using them. Maybe that means getting every single last mile out of the tires on your car, or it means getting every single little drop out of your toothpaste. All this is trying to say is that you need to extract the maximum amount of value that you can possibly get from everything and anything that you spend your money on. And that's exactly what frugal people do. They try to get as much value as they possibly can out of every single dollar that they spend. It's one of the biggest aspects of being frugal in the first place. And frugal living habit number 9 is going to be this: frugal people will always focus on quality over the brand name. Just because everyone around you is buying a brand name item doesn't mean that you have to. Instead, just focus on finding quality items that work for you, whether it's pants or cups or books or plants. Just try to find something that works for you. I'm sure many people out there are surrounded by people who only buy Lululemon clothing, but if you're someone like me, you'll find that there are plenty of clothes that cost a lot less than Lululemon clothes, but they last about the exact same amount of time and they make me feel just as good. So it's something that everyone out there should try to do. It's something that all frugal people try to do. They focus on quality over a brand name. And frugal living habit number 10, which means we are just under halfway there, is this: frugal people will always try to reuse all of the items that they own as much as they possibly can. Instead of looking to buy brand new versions of all the items they own, frugal people will simply try to just reuse all of those items as often and as much as they possibly can until they literally can't physically reuse them anymore. Like, why buy new cups when the cups that you've been using for the last 4 years are still working perfectly fine? I mean, it's just something that frugal people will not really worry about. But something that frugal people do worry about is actually finding value. And that brings me to frugal living habit number 11. Frugal people are always trying to look for more value. Even when frugal people are satisfied with their spending over the course of a month, they will still always be on the lookout for things that might provide some extra value to them. For instance, even though I buy black beans every single time I go to the grocery store, if I go one day and I see that there's a massive sale on kidney beans, I might actually be tempted into buying those because they give me a little bit of a better bang for my buck. And that's just one example of being on the lookout for extra sources of value. So for anyone out there who's trying to live frugally, I would just highly advise always be on the lookout for really good value deals that can provide enough value to you over the long term to make them worth it. And if this video is helping you guys in any way or providing value for you in any way, it would mean the world to me if you could just scroll down and turn that like button blue. We're already more than halfway through this video, and if you're still watching, it would mean so much to me if you could take just a second out of your day and turn that like button blue before you go. And thank you for everyone who did turn that like button blue. And now we'll move on to frugal living habit number 13. And this one's going to be: frugal people will always try to entertain others or hold social events at home instead of going out. And this one's pretty straightforward. I mean, most frugal people know that eating out at restaurants isn't exactly something that's always worth its cost. It's much cheaper to make your own food at home and eat home-cooked meals. So for anyone out there who is trying to organize some social gatherings or hang out with friends, look into doing it at home. Look into entertaining guests at home. It will almost always be cheaper than going out, and all you have to do is just find some ways to make it just as fun to be at home. And if you can do that, then you're obviously saving yourself some money without sacrificing on the fun or the experience of going out with friends or family. And the 13th frugal living habit that I'm going to be talking about today is this. Frugal people will always try to minimize the amount of space or the amount of things around them. And look, I'm not trying to tell anybody out there to purposely downsize or move out of a larger apartment in favor of a smaller one, but just know that the smaller your apartment or house is, or the less space around you, the less you're going to need to fill that space, the less you're going to be tempted to buy items to put into that space. So anytime that you're able to minimize the space around you, minimize the things around you, you're going to end up saving some money. And this habit is actually the reason why I'm about to move into a van. And if you guys are excited for seeing some content about me and two other guys living inside of a converted U-Haul box truck, be sure to subscribe to this channel because there are going to be some videos about that in the future. And I promise you won't want to miss any of those uploads, so be sure to subscribe before you click off this video. And moving on to frugal living habit number 14, and it's going to be this. Frugal people will always try to plan out their spending. Going into any given year, a frugal person is probably going to have decided how much money they're going to try and spend over the course of that entire year, but this also applies to any given week. They almost always know exactly what they're going to spend their money on that week. And this is especially important for anybody out there who feels constantly tempted by impulse buys. Maybe they're at the grocery store and they see some chips they really want, or they're just going shopping for clothes and see some piece of clothing that they really want. But if you want to avoid impulse buys, the best thing you can do is plan out everything that you're going to be spending money on a short-term scale. And that's exactly what frugal people will do. And it actually brings me to frugal living habit number 15 of this video. Frugal people always try to push themselves. Frugal people are constantly setting goals and budgets, and they are pushing themselves to improve, to get better, to practice frugality in a different way. And it's always just a never-ending process that most frugal people like myself really enjoy. And it all comes down to their goals. Maybe they have long-term goals or short-term goals, and every single time that they accomplish or achieve one of those goals, they push themselves to do a little bit better. They push themselves to learn a little bit more about themselves. And that's just something that's really cool. It's something that a lot of frugal people will try to do. They're never satisfied, and they're always pushing themselves. And the 16th habit that I wanted to talk about today is this. Frugal people are always thinking long-term. This one is so important, and I feel like I've already said it a bunch of times in this video, but whenever you're trying to live frugally or save some money, always try to do it with a long-term focus in mind. Always remember that spending a little bit of extra money today, whether it's for some type of item in bulk or a higher quality item that will last a long time, just know that that exact purchase, even though it may cost you a little bit more today, it's going to save you money in the long term. And always, for everyone out there, please remember and consider your long-term goals. Always think about things not just over the course of the next couple weeks or the next couple months, but over the next couple years, and make purchases that are going to help you and bring you value over the long term. And speaking of things that provide value to you, the 17th frugal habit of today's video is going to be this. Frugal people are willing to invest in themselves. If you're able to always think about things with a long-term focus in mind, you're going to realize that sometimes spending a little bit of money on yourself, on maybe teaching yourself something, on learning something, on doing something new, it can provide value. It can pay itself off in the long term, and that's exactly why a lot of frugal people are always willing to invest in themselves. Being willing to buy books and know that what you're going to learn in those books is going to pay itself off or at least bring some sort of value to your life, and therefore buying that book is going to be worth it. Or maybe it's buying the camera equipment to create your own YouTube video. You know that one day in the future it's going to pay itself off. That's why it's an investment, and that's why a lot of frugal people would be willing to make that investment. And this is actually a perfect segue into frugal living habit number 18. The 18th habit of today's video is this. Frugal people always have a reason to save. Living frugally isn't exactly easy. It can be really difficult. It can really force people to struggle at times. And that's exactly why everyone who tries to live frugally should always have a reason for doing it. Something in the back of their mind, something they're saving money for. Maybe it's paying off student loans. Maybe it's retirement. Maybe it's starting your own business and quitting your job. Whatever it is, just always have a reason to be living frugally and trying to save money. The 19th habit of frugal people is to focus on the big things first. And when I say this, it really comes down to how much money people are spending on certain things. Obviously, if you're able to cut down on 50% of the rent that you pay every month, you're gonna save a lot more money than cutting down on 50% of the toothpaste that you buy every month. So it's always important to focus on those big things. If you're able to cut down how much money you spend on rent or food or gas or transportation or utilities every month, that's gonna start saving you a lot of money and it's just gonna snowball. So focus on those big things first. I know quite a few of the things that I've talked about today may be small things. They may only save you a few dollars or a couple $100s over the course of a year, but there are always going to be things in life that if you cut down on your spending properly, it can save you thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars. And that brings me to habit number 20, the 20th habit of frugal people, and the final one for this video is this. Frugal people are always willing to spend money on things that they value. And this one might come as a bit of a surprise. A lot of people have this misconception about frugal people, that they're not willing to spend money on anything. But in reality, if there is something in life that you really value, that really brings you happiness, then you should absolutely be willing to spend money on it. This is what separates a frugal person from a cheap person. So if you're looking into buying something but you're worried that it's not what a frugal person would do, just ask yourself, is it something that you really want that's going to bring you happiness, that's going to make your life a lot better and be worth its cost? And if the answer to all of those questions is yes, then you should absolutely buy it. Don't hold back because you're trying to be frugal. That's being cheap, and we don't really want to do that. But there you guys go. Those are the 20 habits of frugal people that I wanted to talk about today. Every single one of them can be implemented by anybody as soon as today. They can start saving you money as soon as today. And if that's exciting to anybody out there, please, I would love to see it in the comments down below. Let me know if these habits are things that you guys already practice. And if you have more habits, I know that there are millions of more frugal living habits. Comment those down below as well. Let's turn this into a chain of far more than 20 frugal living habits for everyone out there. And if you did enjoy the video, please remember to turn the like button blue before you go. It helps this channel out so much. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss a single upload in the future. New videos go up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you don't want to miss a single one of those, the best thing you can do is subscribe to my channel. And as always, I hope everyone out there is having an amazingly frugal day, and I will see you all again next time.